The Chicago Blackhawks wrap up their 4-game road trip tonight against the Calgary Flames. I'll go over their projected lineup as well as my 3 keys to victory.
You're Locked On Blackhawks, your daily podcast on the Chicago Blackhawks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Locked On Blackhawks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Real quick, just a reminder to please go hit the like button, comment down below, and subscribe to Locked On Blackhawks on YouTube. Really closing in on 2,000 subscribers, and I know with the Blackhawks season just getting started, I'm having a lot of new viewers and listeners. Please make sure you go and hit that subscribe button for me. 100% free, won't cost you anything, and really does help me out tremendously. Got to let you all know as well that today's episode is sponsored by FanDuel. If you're not already a member, go and visit FanDuel.com right now, and when you put $5 down, you'll get awarded $200 worth of bonus bets guaranteed with America's #1 sportsbook. All right, good morning, everyone. Again, thank you all for joining me on another episode of Locked On Blackhawks, your one-stop shop for all things Chicago Blackhawks. Happy game day, Blackhawks fans, as the Blackhawks wrap up their season-opening 4-game road trip tonight with a matchup against the Calgary Flames, who are off to a nice little start to their season as well. Defeated the Vancouver Canucks 6-5 in their season opener 1 week ago from today, then went on to defeat the Philadelphia Flyers 6-3 in their home opener before also getting the better of the Edmonton Oilers, a common theme that's going around here early on in the regular season. They defeated the Edmonton Oilers 4-1 in the Oilers' back end of their weekend back-to-back. Of course, the front half being against our Chicago Blackhawks. So that puts the Calgary Flames at 3-0, and they've been off to a nice offensive start with 16 goals in their opening 3 games. So the Blackhawks certainly have to be on their toes defensively. And speaking of our Blackhawks, after a tough little 5-2 loss to the Utah Hockey Club in their season opener, it's been a much better last 2 games here. A brutal 2-1 overtime loss against the Winnipeg Jets on Friday night. However, it was a really strong performance by the Blackhawks. Would have loved to see them hold that one on in the final minute, but still wound up picking up their first point of the regular season, and then, of course, defeated the Oilers 5-2 on Saturday night to pick up their first win of the season. So another good matchup here tonight, another good test on the road for the Blackhawks before returning back to Chicago. They got their home opener coming up on Thursday night against the San Jose Sharks. Couldn't be more excited to be in attendance and to get back down to the United Center. However, it sounds like Macklin Celebrini, the first overall selection in this year's NHL draft, is not going to be playing on Thursday due to an injury, which is a little bit of a low blow. But before I get into the Blackhawks' projected lineup for tonight's game in Calgary, I did want to mention a little bit of an interesting tidbit that I noticed when doing some research on the past results between these two teams. Since the start of 2023, the Blackhawks are 5-1 against the Calgary Flames in 6 matchups, including 2 wins in the Scotiabank Saddledome. So good opportunity for the Blackhawks here to put a stamp on their season opening road trip. I mean, if they could return to Chicago with a 2-1-1 record, or heck, even a 1-1-2 record, you got to count that, I think, as a success for the Blackhawks in their first 4 games, all being on the road, and hopefully that gives them some extra energy and extra motivation when they open things up at the UC on Thursday. But as far as the Blackhawks' projected lineup tonight for this matchup against the Calgary Flames, doesn't sound like we're going to be getting many changes to the lineup. In fact, it sounds like it's only going to be one coming down on the 4th line. Nick Foligno, Connor Bedard, Teuvo Teravainen expected to remain as the Blackhawks' top line. Bedard and Teravainen, of course, coming off of massive performances in that win against the Oilers. Taylor Hall, Philip Kurashev, Tyler Bertuzzi, who have moved the puck nicely together through these first 3 games, sticking together as the Blackhawks' second line. Third line, Ilya Mikheyev, Jason Dickinson, and Joey Anderson serving as the shutdown pairing, with Foligno on the top line with Bedard once again. That bumps Ilya Mikheyev down. And then the 4th line, Pat Maroon, Andreas Athanasiou expected to remain in the lineup, but Craig Smith is expected to jump in for Ryan Donato, which I think is a little bit of an interesting decision considering Donato, I've thought, has been pretty effective down on the fourth line thus far, but I do understand Luke Richardson wanting to get Craig Smith back in a game. He's been healthy scratch for each of the last two and had a pretty good preseason until in the season opener, I guess, had that bad turnover that led to Utah's second goal of the game. He's been watching from up in the press box for the last couple, but I do understand wanting to get him back in the lineup, and it's not like the Blackhawks have anything long-term tied to Ryan Donato, but not only is Donato going to be healthy scratch tonight, Lukas Reichel looks like he's going to be scratched for a fourth consecutive game to open up the season, which I certainly don't agree with. Coach Luke Richardson talked with the media yesterday following practice in Calgary and said, there's just not a lot of lineup changes going on right now because no one's banged up and the team has performed nicely in their last two games. So it's just kind of hard to get guys out at this point. But again, like Ryan Donato, a guy who this team isn't long-term tied to, Pat Maroon, Joey Anderson, Ilya Mikheyev even, like these are guys who don't have to be playing on a nightly basis. You can get Lukas Reichel in there for a game or two. I just don't understand with an opportunity for him to bounce back this year. I know the preseason and training camp didn't go how anyone had hoped, but it was the preseason after all. To not give him an opportunity through these first four games, I certainly didn't agree with, but Richardson did point out that it is starting to get to that point now where the team and the organization needs to kind of come up with a plan for Reichel to get him in some game action, whether that be here with the Blackhawks or at the AHL level with the Ice Hawks. Kind of the same conversation going around with Nolan Allen right now on the back end because it looks like he's going to be healthy scratched for a third consecutive game. And again, I mentioned this on yesterday's episode. I just don't really know why Nolan Allen is here to be scratched. Like, if he's here, you want to be playing him in games. If not, you probably want him down in Rockford. That's why I think it made just too much sense for Isaac Phillips to be in the seventh defenseman spot. Sounds like Allen's going to be healthy scratched again tonight in Calgary, meaning Alec Martinez, Seth Jones remaining as the top pairing, Alex Vlasic, TJ Brody remaining as the second, and then Wyatt Kaiser and Connor Murphy for the third consecutive game, rounding things out on the back end for the Blackhawks. And then I'd fully expect Peter Mrazek to get the start and net coming off of a really strong effort, stopping 36 of the 38 shots that he faced in Edmonton to pick up his first victory of the season and help the Blackhawks get their first win. Laurent Brossoit still isn't ready at this point in time, so with Arvid Soderblom being the backup, even though he had a good game in Winnipeg, fully expect Peter Mrazek to get the go here again tonight. Probably will get the go again on Thursday in the season opener. Definitely hope to hear some updates and some good news on Laurent Brossoit. Maybe he could even return before the Blackhawks take on the Buffalo Sabres over the weekend. Before I get into segment two, I do want to mention a couple of things that I think you Blackhawks fans should be keeping an eye out for tonight when the puck drops in Calgary. By the way, 8 p.m. Central Time puck drop, not 7 nor 7:30. 8 p.m. Central Time puck drop. And still no deal between Comcast and CHSN, which is just absolutely unbelievable at this point in time. But I've spent enough time ranting on that. What to watch for tonight for the Blackhawks? First, can Teuvo Teravainen and Connor Bedard keep it going with their strong play after the strong outings that they put together against the Edmonton Oilers? Teuvo led the way with 4 points, 2 goals and 2 assists. Connor Bedard struck for his first goal of the season and added 2 apples as well. It feels like he and Teuvo are really starting to figure things out with one another and starting to establish some chemistry. So definitely keep an eye on them here tonight, not only at 5-on-5, but on the Blackhawks man advantage as well. Definitely think it's worth watching whether the second line can continue to make an impact. I think that's probably the line that's established the most chemistry thus far, even though maybe the top line and the power play guys have outproduced them. It feels like the Hall, Kurashev, Bertuzzi trio have done some good work in the offensive zone every game and are just getting more and more comfortable with one another. So definitely keep an eye on that trio as Luke Richardson keeps them together for a fourth consecutive game here tonight. Also, can Luke Richardson keep the top 4 D pairings together for a second consecutive game? The Blackhawks have played really well structured over their last 2 contests, and a result of that has been being able to keep these top 4 pairings together. In the season opener in Utah, we saw Richardson go back to Vlasic Jones Alec Martinez and TJ Brody with one another as well. But in the last two, because of the success the top four has had, he's been able to keep Alec Martinez and Seth Jones together, and Vlasic along with TJ Brody, which quite honestly, with the way that TJ Brody has been playing, we kind of need Alex Vlasic to carry him a little bit on that defensive pairing. Also, how does TJ Brody look after a bit of a bumpy game against Edmonton? Like I mentioned yesterday, I thought he got a little bit better as the game went on, but certainly not to the level that he showed us against the Winnipeg Jets. And outside of that game against Winnipeg, hasn't been a lot of good for TJ Brody. So hopefully he can bounce back and have a better performance here tonight, along with Alex Vlasic. And last but certainly not least, can Wyatt Kaiser keep his strong play going? I've been really impressed with number 44 in his first two games here this year, especially being someone who didn't get any preseason games. And admittedly, I was a little hesitant on Kaiser jumping right back into the lineup without, getting any game action. And it felt like they kind of rushed him back maybe a little bit, but doesn't seem to be the case. He's been very, very good on the back end along with Connor Murphy. Really impressed with his poise, his good decision making, a nice hit that he laid out on Connor McDavid in that win on Saturday night. Maybe drew some frustration out of McDavid there, as well as 97 wound up taking a penalty. But good stuff from Wyatt Kaiser thus far. Feels like he's just more composed, more sure of himself, and I think he's added a little bit more of a mean streak than we've seen. I don't ever expect him to be like the most rugged player, but just all in all, been really happy with what I've seen from number 44. Definitely worth watching if he can keep up his strong start tonight with a tough test against this Calgary Flames offense. All right, there is the Blackhawks projected lineup and what to watch for when the puck drops at Scotiabank Saddledome this evening. Going to take a quick break here, Blackhawks fans, but when I return, I'll get into my 3 keys to victory as well as the best bets tonight against the Flames. But first, real quick, I do got to talk to you all about the fine folks over at FanDuel. And to all of my NFL fans out there, and I know there are a lot of you, you can now start the season with a big return over at FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you also happen to place your bets. And how about our Chicago Bears? We got the bye week coming up, but they're 4-2, got some mojo before a huge next battle against the Commanders in Washington. If you think the Bears are going to take that game, if you want to get an early jump on the lines, make sure to go and visit FanDuel.com to go and smash the Chicago Bears. And if you're not already a member, when you put $5 down after creating an account, FanDuel will award you with $200 worth of bonus bets guaranteed. And you can use these bonus bets to bet on anything from spreads, over-unders, player props, anytime touchdown, first touchdown scores, or even anything related to the Blackhawks and the NHL. Make sure you go and visit FanDuel.com right now if you're not already a member to take advantage of a nice $200 worth of bonus bets that FanDuel will give you guaranteed. FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Back here on the Locked On Blackhawks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Excuse me, your team every day. Just wanted to say thank you to everyone out there for making Locked On Blackhawks your very first listen. Now, for your second listen, make sure to go and check out the Locked On NHL podcast, where the action never ends, providing national expertise with a local perspective. And you can easily find the link to Locked On NHL down in the description of this video, or simply search on YouTube or wherever you may be listening to your podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Segment 2, as I will be doing before every Blackhawks game here in the 2024-2025 NHL regular season. Again, another reason for you all to go and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any of my Blackhawks game previews or game recaps. Be on the lookout for the episode dropping early tomorrow morning, recapping what went down in Calgary tonight between the Blackhawks and Flames. As far as my three keys to victory go for the Blackhawks here tonight, #1 is for them to stay structured defensively. They've done a much better job, as I've mentioned, of doing that in these last couple of games. It's also led to Luke Richardson being able to stick with the defensive pairings that he kind of wants to roll with. But Calgary has been lights out offensively thus far. They potted 6, in their opener against Vancouver, also potted 6 in their next game, their home opener, their lone game that they've played at home thus far against the Philadelphia Flyers, and then, mustered up another 4 on Sunday against the Edmonton Oilers. So this has been a streaky offensive bunch out of the gate, and the Hawks definitely have to be buttoned up on the defensive side of things if they want to come away with 2 points here tonight in Calgary. My second key to victory is to keep the momentum going on special teams. Blackhawks fans, while we have the opportunity to do this, go and look at the NHL app and go and look at the team leaders. In power play percentage, who's at the top? It's none other than our Chicago Blackhawks. After going 3 for 3 in Edmonton on Saturday, they are now 42.9% on the man advantage this year. That puts them tied for first in the NHL right now. And then on the flip side, the penalty kills at 83.3%, which is ranked 12th in the NHL right now. The Hawks, albeit, yes, a short sample size, 3 games for both teams, but the Hawks are ranked above Calgary in both special teams categories right now. They had a really good special teams effort in both departments on Saturday against Edmonton. Let's keep that going here tonight against Calgary, especially the power play. If the power play can be a difference maker for this Blackhawks team, that is going to be so crucial for this offense that, yes, it's better than last year, but it still lacks a little bit of true firepower at the top. If the Blackhawks can get this man advantage going, and if they can be in the top half of the league, that is going to be such a huge weapon, such a crucial weapon for them to help out this offense moving forward. So win the special teams battle here tonight, get a power play goal. I think that definitely helps the Blackhawks' chances of winning. My third and final key to victory is for the bottom 6 to get on the board. Would love to see the third or fourth line chip in for a goal. We got one, of course, from Ryan Donato in that game against Winnipeg. Would have loved to see that wind up as the game winner. Unfortunately, things didn't wind up transpiring that way, but if the Blackhawks can get a goal from the shutdown trio or the fourth line, Andreas Athanasiou with his speed, he's had some good looks since jumping into the lineup. If the Hawks can get one from their bottom 6, I really like their chances of coming away with 2 points here tonight in Calgary. As far as my best bets go tonight against the Flames, something that I got pretty good feedback with down below in the comment section. Make sure to reach out with your 2 cents, whether you enjoy me going over best bets before every Blackhawks game, or if you think it's something that I should just kind of throw to the side. But reading some lines right here, right now, real quick, courtesy of the fine folks over at FanDuel, of course. The Flames, unsurprisingly, on home ice are the favorites, but not as big of a line as I expected. The Flames are currently at minus 146 money line. The Hawks are at plus 122. Plus 1.5 puck line for Chicago is minus 200. It's minus 1.5 for Calgary on the puck line is plus 164. And then under 6.5 is currently the favorite, closely though, at minus 128. Over 6.5 is plus 104. So when going through kind of the bets and also the past results between these two teams in the last couple of years, this is what I settled on. Jason Dickinson has been nice against the Calgary Flames since joining the Blackhawks. 5-1 for Jason Dickinson to score tonight. I'm taking that alone by itself. Jason Dickinson to score his first goal of the season here this evening. 5-1 odds. The parlay that I have put together, I really like this one. Really like the odds here. Seth Jones, 2 or more shots on goal, parlayed with Teuvo Teravainen, 3 shots on goal. Coming off of a game in which he just had 6. He's got some juice going. Him and Bedard are starting to establish some chemistry, and we know he's going to be one of the 2 shooters along with Connor Bedard on the Blackhawks' top power play unit. So Teuvo, 3 or more shots. Seth Jones, 2 or more shots. That parlayed together is plus 233, which I think is a really good line. Do want to let you all know the odds that are posted right now on FanDuel for some of the goal scorers here this evening. Unfortunately, FanDuel has not, at the time of this recording, released the lines for point scorers, so wasn't able to put that in my parlay or anything before putting out this episode. But as far as what the goal scorers are listed at right now, Connor Bedard is the favorite at plus 170. Nazem Kadri next at plus 185. Andrei Kuzmenko at plus 220. Teuvo Teravainen at plus 230. Tyler Bertuzzi at plus 250. Blake Coleman at plus 250, Jonathan Huberdeau at plus 260, and then Taylor Hall at plus 260 as well. So if you're wanting to place a goal score bet down, those are the top 8 favorites right there. Everyone who is below 3-1 odds. If I were to take a goal scorer, I'd probably go Bertuzzi at plus 250. I do think he's due, but I also don't hate Teuvo Teravainen at plus 230. He's been cooking here early. Could, put on a push to lead the Blackhawks in goals this year along with Connor Bedard. So I think plus 230 is a pretty good number there. But what I am taking is Dickinson 5-1, again, parlayed, a separate parlay, not with Jason Dickinson. That Jason Dickinson 5-1 bet is standalone. Seth Jones 2+ shots parlayed with Teuvo Teravainen 3 or more, and that comes out to plus 223. All right, that takes care of everything that I wanted to bring up before the Blackhawks take on the Calgary Flames here this evening. Got one final break to take on today's show, but when I return, I still have to get into a quick update on the Blackhawks prospects playing in the CHL and in college hockey. Segment 3, with the season starting for not only the Blackhawks, but their prospects in the CHL and the NCAA over the last couple of weeks, I did want to be sure to talk about a couple of Hawks prospects who are off to hot starts. None more so than Nick Lardis, baby, who I had a feeling he was going to absolutely tear up the OHL with Brantford this year when the news was announced that he was going back. Wasn't really news. It was either the NHL or the OHL for Nick Lardis here this season. But when he was officially going back to Brantford, I had a feeling he was going to be tearing it up. But what a start this kid has gotten off to. Through 6 games, Nick Lardis has already found the back of the net 8 times, along with 3 assists, 11 points through his opening 6 games, already netted his first hat trick of the year. Couldn't be more excited for Nick Lardis to be leading the charge for the Brantford Bulldogs this season, and really hoping within the next month or so, 2024 Blackhawks first-round pick Marek Vanacker will be able to return for Brantford as well, and those two can really get things going on the top line. AJ Spellacy, of course, who was a standout for the Blackhawks in the preseason and in training camp, wound up sticking around a lot longer than I think anyone anticipated because of his sharp play. He's carried that momentum over nicely into his year with the Windsor Spitfires through 5 games. We've seen Spellacy play as the top line center spot. We've also seen him play on the wing down on the third line. One of the nice parts about him, as I've mentioned on the show before, is he feels like he is a little bit of a Swiss Army knife possibility one day down the road, he's someone who can do a little bit of everything. He can mix and he can match them. He's provided some nice offense, some nice physicality thus far. 6 points, 3 goals, and 3 assists for AJ Spellacy in his first 5 games with Windsor. Ryan Green, the co-captain of Boston University this year, is off to a nice start as well, centering the top line, which just puts a huge smile on my face to have seen him rise one spot in the depth chart year after year, starting as the third line center, then becoming the second line center behind Macklin Celebrini last year, and to now be the head honcho while being one of the 2 players to wear a C for the Terriers this year. That has me jacked up about Ryan Green. 2 goals and an assist, 3 points for Green through the Terriers' opening 2 games. Aiden Thompson, in his 3rd year with the defending national champion Denver Pioneers, has gotten off to a really hot start as an upperclassman. Through his first 2 games, he's already found the back of the net 3 times, and we'll be interested to see if Aiden Thompson, if he puts together a good year here with Denver, if he winds up foregoing his final year of eligibility to make the leap to pro hockey. Dominic James, who is wearing the C for Minnesota Duluth in his senior season after only playing 2 games last year due to an injury. He's gotten off to a good start as the captain, a goal and 2 assists for 3 points in the opening 3 games of the season. And then we got to see Sam Renzel, Oliver Moore, and the Minnesota Golden Gophers kick things off over the weekend as well. Sam Renzel with a beautiful coast-to-coast goal for his first tuck of the season. Only had 2 all of last year, so love to see him get one in the season opener and also in highlight reel fashion. Also chipped in for an assist down later in the game. Love to see the skating ability that was on display in that highlight. Oliver Moore, centering the second line for Minnesota, picked up an assist in that game as well. And then Sasha Boisvert, baby, in his first college game with the North Dakota Fighting Sioux, an absolute howitzer of a power play goal, top shelf. That's what the kid can do. He was put on this ice in this world to shoot the puck. Also added an assist and a big win for North Dakota. 2 points in Sasha Boisvert's NCAA debut. Not only was it a big weekend for the Blackhawks to get their first victory, the Rockford Ice Hogs had a really nice showing to win their season opener. We've gotten a lot of standout performances in the first couple of weeks of the season from several Blackhawks prospects. Going to be a lot of fun to watch them throughout the course of this year. For more updates on the Blackhawks prospects throughout the rest of the regular season, make sure you're subscribed to Locked On Blackhawks. I'll have you covered on all of them, whether they're playing in the CHL, the NCAA, or somewhere in the middle of nowhere overseas. Right here is your one-stop shop for all things Blackhawks prospects. All right, that is going to wrap up today's episode of Locked On Blackhawks. Again, thank you to everyone for joining me on another episode. Make sure to go and follow Locked On Blackhawks for free wherever you may be listening to your podcast, and to subscribe to Locked On Blackhawks on YouTube. Help me out as I'm on the climb to 2,000 subscribers, and that way you can also get the latest episode as soon as it's available each and every day. Again, I'm your host, Jack Bushman. You can check me out on X at JackBushman2 for my personal, but make sure to go and follow at Talkin' Hockey. That way you can get all of the latest Blackhawks news and updates. So until tomorrow's episode, man, it would be awesome to see the Blackhawks go and get another win here on the road before returning to Chicago. A 2-1-1 start in their season opening 4-game road trip would get an A+ from me. So hopefully the Hawks can pick up that win here tonight. And until the next episode, everyone, have a great rest of your day. I'll see you next time on the Locked On Blackhawks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.